The Bengals mascot, Benzu. I suppose he expresses the sentiments of everybody down on that artificial surface this afternoon. Temperature approaching 90 degrees. It's got to be somewhere around 100 degrees on the playing surface. There you see the score, 20-13, San Diego over the Cincinnati Bengals. Bob, before we get back to this ball game, I want to talk for a moment about what Pete Axtone was talking about a few moments ago, and that is the officiating in the NFL. We saw a situation here where a wrong call almost cost the Bengals a touchdown. Weich has been very outspoken about the officiating in 1985.
Coach Sam Weich is very outspoken about that. He feels as though there are so much effort, billions of dollars literally spent in the industry. Careers are at stake, families, livelihoods, college educations are all at stake. The very economy of some cities is at stake. And yet it all boils down many times to the decisions or non-decisions made by part-time employees. So it's a point well taken. I'm not sure that I agree with Coach Weich, but there seems to be certain things that could be done that aren't being done. I think one of the revelations next year that needs to be done is the usage of the replay.
You know, Sam said earlier that a game against the Seattle Seahawks, game 1 of the 85 season, a call at the end of that ball game, 4 plays from the end of the game, a holding call, could quite frankly have been called on every single play in that ball game. He also made one other interesting point when he said he doesn't feel the lower division teams in the NFL, the teams that play below 500 football, get the close calls. It's the teams that are the powerhouses, your ball club, the Miami Dolphins, the Dallas Cowboys, the San Francisco 49ers, those caliber of teams that somehow get the breaks week in and week out.
He claims that it's a case of the rich getting richer. I can't quite go along with that. Working for Don Shula all those many, many years, I can remember many times in the sideline that we felt as though we were being unjustly penalized because of Shula's reputation as a truculent, demanding sideline participant.
Certainly not the Don Shula we all know. Bob Kuchenberg's got to be talking about somebody else. Let's get to the highlights of the first half of our ball game here at Riverfront. Bob Thomas takes San Diego to a 3-0 lead early in the first period with a 20-yard field goal. And then the Bengals came back, and this was the call, Bob.
Yeah, this is very, very plain here. Right there's a contact. That forces Chris out of bounds. Anytime you have contact, this call really should not have been made, of course, and it was properly overruled.
The touchdown stood. That gave the Bengals a 7-3 lead, but the Chargers came back on a 4-yard pass from Dan Fouts to his tight end, Eric Sievers. His first touchdown catch of the day. It made it 10-7 San Diego early in the second period, and then midway through quarter number 2, they hooked up again.
Eric Sievers having a big day already. 3 games into the season, he has set his personal record for touchdown passes.
And then the Bengals got the ball back on the ensuing kickoff, Bob. They had to get on the board, and they did so. And the former Charger, James Brooks.
Especially sweet for JB, and it showed a lot of character on the Bengals' part coming back and getting in the end zone.
And then, of course, the Bengals tried to get even closer. The point after bounced off the upright, would not go through. Score stood 17-13. The Chargers then connected right at the end of the second period of play. Again, it was Bob Thomas, 29 yards away. That staked San Diego to a 20-13 halftime lead. And that, of course, is where we stand. The second half just about ready to begin. And, Bob, if you're San Diego, you look down at the statistics, you have to be awfully happy when you look at time of possession. If you're the Bengals, that's exactly what they did not want to do, and that is give Dan Fouts the football for over 16.5 minutes.
That's right. You've got more than a 3-minute difference, and of course, if you multiply that times 2 for a full game, you're looking at a 6-point differential, and you don't win many games allowing San Diego to have the ball that much. On the other hand, the Bengals have played good, solid, tough, aggressive, gambling style of defense, and they must continue to do just that to try to disrupt the timing of Dan Fouts and the Chargers.
They'll turnovers, 5 in the ball game. The Chargers, 2 interceptions. The Bengals, a couple of interceptions and a fumble. The kick will come to Mike Martin at the 3-yard line. Across the 30, the 35, and finally forced down out near the 45-yard line. It is Jesse Bendras, a 40-yard return.
Opening both halves today, Phil, we've had a big kickoff return, and there's no better way for the home team to get off and running than to break one 45 yards on the opening kick. This guy, Mike Martin, this player, led the league last year, the entire NFL, 84 in punt returns, so he's capable of making the big play.
Kennebrew and James Brooks will start in the backfield for Cincinnati. Boomer Esiason looking for Kennebrew. Instead goes right over the middle, in and out of the arms of the rookie Eddie Brown. Check that, James Brooks.
Interesting, Phil, the young quarterback coming out throwing to open the second half. They are not being conservative.
Fouts in the first half, as you saw, 14 of 25, 180 yards. Well below his halftime totals just a week ago against Seattle. Esiason with time on second down. That's Kennebrew. Oh, for a guy 6'1", 100, make that 255 pounds. He got up in the air.
A lot of action on the line of scrimmage that many times the people don't see. Here you have big Anthony Munoz going against 76 Keith Ferguson. Look at them slugging it out like Muhammad Ali and Cassius Clay. And a lot of beef there, Phil.
I don't know how you guys keep your temper down there, Bob. Somebody's wailing away at me like that. I'm going to lose my temper 4 or 5 times in a ball game.
Well, that's all right. If you do lose it, you have to regain it, though, at the proper time.
Esiason looking deep, going deep. Collinsworth, is it intercepted? Yes, it is. And now it is being called pass interference. Danny Walters going up over the top of Chris Collinsworth. Flag is down. It'll be a first down for Cincinnati, I'm almost certain.
This is a difficult call, Phil. I don't know that I agree with it. Yeah,
defensive interference, number 23, first down.
Yes, there's contact right at it. There it is right there. But clearly the defensive back was going for the ball. I think it probably had to be called, but because he took away Collinsworth's right to the ball. A good call, but a difficult one to make.
First down, Bengals. At the 16-yard line of San Diego. They trail by a touchdown, 20-13 Chargers. Collinsworth to the right, Brown to the left. Esiason looking Collinsworth all the way, unloads. Oh, it is almost intercepted again, this time by Wayne Davis, the rookie out of Indiana State.
And that one could have gone 95 yards the other way. Wayne Davis last week, as you mentioned, Phil, victimized by 4 touchdown passes. And I think that game film, the results of last week's game have a lot to do with Coach Sam White's and Boomer Esiason's strategy today. They're not running the ball as much as I'd expected, but they're trying to capitalize on this young Charger secondary.
Second down and 10 from the 16. Charles Alexander is in the ball game as a blocking back. Esiason unloading for the post. Touchdown, Collinsworth, yes!
Throw and what a catch. This Collinsworth, he's having some kind of day. Good coverage on the play. The ball had to be thrown right there. Grabs it in, 1 foot down, 2 feet down. All pro play. Wayne Davis again. How many touchdowns, Phil, is that?
1 today, 4 last week versus the Seahawks. Collinsworth now 2 touchdowns today, 7 receptions for 127 yards. Jim Breach applies the cream. And the clock stops with 13:48 to play in the third period.
Silver Bullet by Chrysler Plymouth, who invites you to discover the new technology of driving at your Chrysler Plymouth dealer. And by Kentucky Fried Chicken. We do chicken right.
Chris Collinsworth, big afternoon. Well over 125 yards and a couple of touchdown receptions. His first 2 TDs of the year. That's Lionel James at the 1-yard line, and here he comes. The Chargers across the 35 and down at the 37-yard line. 35-yard return by Lionel James. Game's underway today. Pittsburgh leading the Mets 2-0 in the bottom of the third. St. Louis trailing Montreal 1-0. Milwaukee and Toronto now deadlocked bottom of the fourth at exhibition. New York doing a number on the Orioles in Baltimore. 3-0 that game now in the bottom of the third. NFL scores Denver and Atlanta. Doesn't get any closer than that. 21 apiece midway through the third period. We are deadlocked here at Riverfront Stadium. 20 San Diego and Cincinnati. Bounce the alley-oop. That's Joyner. He's got the football and he is tackled at the 42-yard line. Charlie, playing with a concussion, came out of the ball game midway through the first quarter. Did not return. Pittsburgh continues to lead Houston 20-0.
The Steelers are tough at home.
For Charlie Joyner, A gain of 22, and he's leaving the game again. And that may be the last catch we'll see by Joyner today. You know, for my money, Bob, I don't think there is a more courageous player in the entire league. That's Lionel James. He's to the outside. It could go. Breeden, a close line at the 3-yard line. James, 38 yards.
Little Train having another big day to go along with 290 yards last week. You know, you hear a lot about Chandler's receiving ability, but here you see him doing a little blocking. Not exactly a picture book block, but very, very effective. Give him an A for results.
Lionel James a week ago electrified Charger fans at home against Seattle. Up and down the field. And he is putting on a show here in Cincinnati. First and goal, San Diego inside the 5.
He sure is, Phil. He's been much more of a factor than Tim Spencer so far.
Up in the air. Is it caught? Wait a minute. Touchdown, San Diego. Pete Holohan. Oh, what a catch over James Griffin.
What a catch is right. Unbelievable catch. I don't know about this. He comes down right on the line. Now, the first thing it hits is his back. Now, there's 1 foot, and a hind end.
That's enough.
That's enough, huh? 1 hind end equals 2 feet.
In this league, anyway, Pete Holohan, his first catch of the year for the touchdown. Bob Thomas whistles it through. And with 12:43 to play in the third period, the Chargers have struck. They lead it by a touchdown. Dan's numbers, that says it all. 205 yards, a trail of touchdowns. All 3 to his tight ends.
It's beginning to look a lot like a Fouts type of day.
Bob Thomas lets it go. That is Stanford Jennings at the 7-yard line. Still on his feet. Finally taken out by Derry Nelson. And tempers flare.
Now, boys. Boys.
Yeah, give him the line. It's just a game.
Yeah, it's just a game, guys.
Lucius Smith offside on the kicking team. And they're going to make the Chargers kick it again, I believe. At least that's what the Bengal Brain Trust is trying to tell them.
5-yard penalty. 33 was offside on the kicking team.
The Bob Thomas and company will come on again. The Bengal return team will make its way on. And with 12 minutes, 32 seconds to play in the third period, we'll go again. Three Rivers Stadium in Pittsburgh. It's the Steelers leading Houston 20-0. Gary Anderson, a couple of field goals for Pittsburgh. Mark Malone, a couple of touchdown passes. Philadelphia leading Washington 9-6. Field goals, the order of the day at RFK.
That's a surprise. The Eagles having their way right now with the Redskins. Redskins are getting off to somewhat of a slow start this year, Phil. They're struggling.
Yes, they are. Well, your ball club, first week of the '85 season, who would have ever suspected the Houston Oilers over the Dolphins?
That's true. And who would have suspected the 49ers going down in flames the opening week?
Yeah, you told me last night you kind of expect Kansas City to give your boys a real battle later today.
No doubt about that. I think that the Dolphins, if they don't play well today, I know they're in for a long day.
Stanford Jennings across the 32 and hammered at the 34-yard line. Carlos Bradley out of Wake Forest, and now we've got another one going on. A 19-yard return. No flags are down. You know, that's one thing I'm very happy to see in the past couple of years. As you watch the scores roll by, New England over Buffalo 17-7. Very rarely anymore, unless it's flagrant, Bob, do you see those offsetting personal fouls when teams start to mix it up.
That's true, Phil. And there were no flags there. What you're seeing, though, with all these little rhubarbs popping up here, I think you're seeing some frustration. Both of these teams, again, embarrassed last week, and they're very frustrated, and you're seeing it come out right now.
First and 10, Esiason. There's a little delayed draw. That is James Brooks. Oh, my. He took Wayne Davis on helmet to helmet and about knocked each other out.
We can hear that one up here. That was like a couple of bighorn rams. I don't know how he kept his feet. Little delay here, fake pass, a little delay to the right. Good block by Max Montoya there. Wow, that hurts. You feel that one. Wayne Davis is going to feel that tomorrow if he doesn't feel it already.
You suppose he still knows the combination to his lock? Second down and 8 from the 36-yard line.
Somebody answer that phone.
Esiason looking at Collinsworth. Now comes near side. That's Brooks. He's got it. And he is tackled at the 46-yard line. A first down for Cincinnati. Billy Ray Smith and Keith King on the tackle. There's the update on the ball scores. The pennant races, oh my. How about the National League East? Doesn't get much tighter than that. The Yankees trying to make up that big lead that Toronto has in the American League East. Minnesota, Kansas City scoreless now in the bottom of the second inning at Royal Stadium. Here at Riverfront Stadium, it is 1st and 10 Cincinnati. 11 minutes and 5 seconds to play in the third period. We are tied at 20 all. And there goes James Brooks to the 45-yard line. Again, Billy Ray Smith on the tackle.
Nothing fancy about that. Just good, basic, primitive football. Tucking in behind those 290-pound mastodons up front. Cincinnati controlling the line of scrimmage in this drive.
Bob, if the Chargers would have a place from which to begin a formidable defense, where would it be?
That's a tough one, Phil. I think that they've got a fairly sound linebacking core. That's probably the nucleus of their defense. And other than that, they've got a lot of improvement, of course, in the front three and the secondary as well.
Stanford Jennings getting the first down, moving the ball to the San Diego Charger 43-yard line. The Broncos by 3 over Atlanta, 24-21. Boomer Esiason has gone all the way.
Talking about the San Diego Charger defense, Phil, over the years they have been much maligned, and they have to suffer from an inferiority complex playing in the same team as Dan Fouts and all the All-Pros.
Stanford Jennings has it at the 41, and he is down.
But looking at Big Anthony Munoz here, the All-Pro left tackle, number 78 in the dark shirt, going against Keith Ferguson, the veteran of the San Diego defensive line. Fine play by Anthony, throwing his body. You like to see that, Phil. You like to see that big man throwing his body.
Yeah, you're looking at the 1981 National Football League Lineman of the Year. Number 1 draft choice back in 1980 out of Southern California. Second down and 9. From the 42-yard line. Incidentally, Mike Wilson, the big right tackle, out of the ballgame with a heat cramp. Here comes the reverse, Eddie Brown. And there'll be nothing there. Esiason could not get the block down on big Keith Ferguson, and the reason why Ferguson jumped right over Esiason.
He sure did. A lot of times you'll see that a quarterback, as an offensive lineman, you talk to block him in the numbers. You put your helmet in the numbers. Quarterbacks tend to put their helmets in their ankles. And in this case, he put it under his ankles. If it would have been possible to dig a hole in the turf, Boomer would have done it that time.
We pause briefly for station identification. This is the NBC television network.
KCST-TV, San Diego.
8:30 to play, third period. Phil Stone along with Bob Kuchenberg. Oh, we have a dandy here at Riverfront Stadium. Esiason, sideline. It is caught by Collinsworth, and he dives out of bounds as Woody Lowe could not get a hand on him.
Collinsworth having a banner day here. This guy has it all. The moves. He doesn't have the 9.3, 9.2 speed, but lulling the defender to sleep here, delaying. Woody Lowe all over him. Excellent coverage. The ball just thrown at the only exact place that could have been completed.
Collinsworth, his numbers. A couple of touchdowns, first 2 of 1985. First down and 10 from the Charger 30. Quick hitter right up the middle. That's James Brooks, and he moves it straight ahead to the 22. Yeah, a week ago, it was Kurt Warner who ran right through that Charger defensive front line.
That time it was a splendid job done by the big hoss up front, Dave Remington, the all-world center out of the University of Nebraska a couple of years back. And Remington has been kind of overshadowed in his young career, largely by Dwight Stevenson of Miami and perhaps Mike Webster of Pittsburgh.
Second down and short. That's Brooks. Can he get around Lyndon King? Indeed he can, and he goes out of bounds after gaining the first down at the 17-yard line.
Now that's what raw speed does for you, Phil. Actually, Lyndon King played that, diagnosed that very well, had a nice angle. He opened himself up, but James Brooks' raw speed enabled him to encircle, go all the way around Lyndon King to the outside. There is no substitute for raw speed. Getting back, though, to Dave Remington, again, he's one of the very underrated centers in the National Football League. The league now is dominated by Dwight Stevenson of Miami and Mike Webster of Pittsburgh, but Dave Remington is very improved and underrated.
First and 10 from the 17, Esiason. Looking over the middle, he's got Dan Ross inside the San Diego 4-yard line. What a route Dan Ross ran.
Going over the middle, that's no man's land. Not too many receivers like to go over the center. Wide open, gonna pay the price right there. If Danny thinks he's tired of football yesterday, we ought to talk to him tomorrow morning.
First and goal from the 4-yard line.
But that's something that's been missing from the Cincinnati arsenal, Phil, for the last couple of years. Ross, again, was a Pro Bowl performer a couple of years back and looks as though he may be ready to reemerge.
Kennebrew and Charles Alexander are the running backs. The gives to Kennebrew through the left side. He is stacked up at the 2, continues to dive ahead. And oh, what an effort. Touchdown, Bengals.
You gotta love it. Excellent block by the lead back there, number 40, Alexander. These last 2 yards all on his own. Head-to-head with Mike Green and another defender. Wow, what a hit. Wayne Davis and Mike Green both hit him head-on here. Boom, boom. Keeps the legs moving. That's what 275 pounds does for you. There are not many fullbacks, if any, Phil, that get in the end zone on that play.
Jimmy Breach to tie this ball game once more. Kreider gets it down. Breach sends it through. And the clock stops again, this time with 6 minutes and 42 seconds to play. And Kennebrew brings the Bengals even. Jim Breach tees it up. We're set to go. James and Anthony Steele's the rookie. Back at the goal line for San Diego. Tied at 27-27. It'll be Lionel James at the goal line, and here comes the little train. Oh, he's got some room. A flag is down at the 10-yard line. It'll be called back. Oh, my. A flag is down way back at the 11-yard line. A 100-yard return, and you can bring it back.
This doesn't count, but let's look at it anyway. This is a heartbreaker. Can't quite see the push. You know, Phil, I've seldom seen people be as much of a force.
Receiving team, illegal block in the back, 5-yard penalty down to the 10, from the 11 to the 6-yard line.
That hurts. That hurts. Lionel James, what a force. Right now, this is the difference in the ball game. You see a fumble snap. The ball was down, but not down quickly enough. The timing was off. The holder, Kreider, did not get the ball down with his normal timing. And right now, that could send this ball game into overtime, Phil.
Well, that penalty whistle against Anthony Corley, who was just picked up this week to fill in for the injured Curtis Adams. Tim Spencer, nowhere to go. Just across the 5-yard line, maybe at the 6. Now, Bob, you played this game for 15 years. You know what that kind of a call can do for a defensive unit.
That's right. Now, instead of certainly 7 points on the ball on the scoreboard, but you deep in your own hole, it's not only fired up, it's taken the steam out of your own offensive team, it's fired up the defensive team, and it's fired up this stadium. Pass intended for Eric Sievers, and Dan Fouts is stung by Reggie Williams in the end zone. Yeah, he's having a tough time getting up. Dan Fouts on the ground in his own end zone. You see Glenn Cameron coming in there, number 50. Number 57 in black there from the right side. Hit very hard after he's thrown the ball. Cincinnati applying the pressure defense, Phil. This is a very big series for the San Diego Chargers.
3rd and 9. Fouts again retreating into his own end zone. Now tries to air it out. Oh, he has got Wes Chandler, and a flag flies at the 30-yard line. A gain of 20 yards, unless Wes will be whistled for offensive interference on the cut.
Defensive holding, number 34. Penalty refused. First down.
This is a pressure situation. Phil, deep in his own territory, backing up into his end zone here, needs a first down to turn the momentum. Looks to the left, throwing to the right. There you see Breeden coming just a little bit early. That was a championship play, a pressure play. The momentum had turned against them. The fans are screaming. It's deep in their own end zone. It's difficult to hear. But the man comes through with a big play.
Fouts on first down. Sideline. He wanted Joyner. And the ball was overthrown out at the 40-yard line. It will be 2nd down and 10 for San Diego. Dallas continuing to lay it on the Cleveland Browns, 17-0. Denver over Atlanta, 27-21. Rich Carlos, a couple of field goals, broke a 21-21 tie. And Philadelphia continuing to lead the Redskins 9-6. 5 field goals in that ball game. They are midway through quarter number 3 at RFK. Here's a little slant to Charlie Joyner. Oh, it was almost picked off by Bobby Kemp.
Phil, here's the latest Dallas touchdown. Razzle-dazzle off the shotgun. Danny White hands to James Jones. Then they forget about
KCS.
Jones goes back across the field. Chip Banks punishes him in the end zone, but it's too late. Touchdown, Danny White.
Thank you, Bob Costas, here at Riverfront with 5:09 to play in the 3rd period. San Diego and Cincinnati deadlocked at 27 apiece. 3rd and 10 Chargers. Fouts to Charlie Joyner, in and out of his hands. I can't remember a ball game where I've seen San Diego receivers drop so many passes.
I don't think this one was really dropped, Phil. I think it was underthrown. A wobbly ball. Charlie's got to come back for the ball here to catch it. Could have been caught. Would have been a very, very difficult catch for the all-time receiving champion. You have to admire the guts in this Cincinnati Bengal defense. They are challenging Dan Fouts. They're trying to get in his face. They're gambling. They're applying pressure defense. They're doing the only thing that they know how to slow down and defeat Dan Fouts, and that's put pressure on him. And they're doing a good job.
Ralph Mojenko got a couple of boomers today. This one not very good. Mike Martin on a running start at the 32. And he is tripped up. Ron Obar, first year out of BYU. The Bengals, tremendous field position. They look to take a lead.
Back to 27 all, 4:53 to play in the 3rd period. And right now, Boomer Esiason, 19 of 30, Bob Kuchenberg, 234 yards and 2 touchdowns. Not bad for a quarterback who didn't know that he was going to be kicking splinters out of his seat today or calling sickness.
Showing us a lot of courage, Phil.
There's a quick hitter to Jim Brooks. He's got it and moves the ball inside the San Diego 40-yard line. Stopped by Lyndon King. Well, Bob talked about it at the outset of our telecast today. The big, big question mark today's game. Will we see a defense from either team? New Orleans leading Tampa Bay. 20-6, New Orleans. And the 3rd period, Esiason looks at Brooks, now wants to go downfield, and he's got his tight end. It's a fumble? No, it's an incompleted forward pass. Woody Lowe came up with the football, but the ruling is that Dan Ross never had possession. We are having video difficulties, so until we can restore them, we want to take you to Fulton County Stadium in Atlanta, the Broncos and the Falcons.
Right. He's running the deep pattern. We welcome those of you watching San Diego, Cincinnati. You're watching Denver on the move here on offense in the third quarter. Don Criqui with Bob Trumpy with 6:03 to play in the quarter.
I'll tell you. Jim Breach is set to kick it away following a touchdown pass from Boomer Esiason to Stanford Jennings.
We'll show you that touchdown catch in just a second.
That's the up man, Anthony Steele, and he has got the ball across the 27-yard line, and the Chargers will begin there. First time they have trailed since the early going of this ball game.
Taking a look at the touchdown here, Boomer does a great job of eluding the tackler there. I question whether he should throw the ball because he had clear sailing on the run, but obviously he knew what he was doing here. Excellent juggling act here by Stanford Jennings. Coach Sam White has called Stanford Jennings the most reliable and dependable rookie he's ever seen, and this year he's the most reliable sophomore that he's ever seen, Phil.
The Chargers out of the eye. Plenty of time remaining with 1:17 left in the third period. Bounce is going for it all. Charlie Joyner, and is picked up by Louis Braden and then dropped. Yeah, that's what 17 years in this league will do. Joyner knew he didn't have a shot at it, and he just reached around and knocked it free of Louis Braden.
Once again, Dan Fouts finds himself picking himself up off the carpet. Dan is getting hit, Phil. And this ball was a gamble. It probably shouldn't have been thrown. He's lucky it's not intercepted. But what Dan is doing is throwing to spots. He's throwing before the cut is even made. And Cincinnati is playing good, tough, aggressive defense. They're making Dan throw the ball a little bit before he's ready to throw it. And that's why they're almost coming up with the interceptions.
Second down and 10 now. Fouts right over the top. That's Holohan. And he's got a first down out across the 43-yard line. What a job Pete Holohan did getting in front of Jimmy Turner.
Where did that guy learn to catch like that, Phil?
Had to be in high school. They don't teach that at Notre Dame. Of course, when you came out of Notre Dame, Coach, were they still wearing the leather helmets?
Hey, now, don't get personal here. I was wearing a leather helmet in high school.
First and 10 from the 43-yard line. Lionel James is in motion. Fouts looking out that way. Now hits the train as Fouts himself is hit.
Phil, I believe that Dan Fouts is starting to feel a little pressure.
And rightfully so. The Bengal defensive unit really starting to collapse the Chargers' offensive line. Now, that's something that Sam told you and I yesterday, Bob, that they felt they had to get in Dan's face and get their hands up and force him not to be able to follow through with that delivery.
And they are doing just that. That time, big number 90, Emmanuel King, the top draft choice, was just right in his face.
There's the draw play. Good call. James into the secondary, and now it's a foot race. 43 yards. James outrunning Bobby Kemp. Touchdown, San Diego.
What a call. I love it. What a call. Here's the end zone shot blowing right by Reggie Williams here. Now it's a horse race, and there are very few people in this league that can catch this young man. The Chief, Sam the Chief Clapham, gets a key block. Haven't heard much from the Chief, but you've got to point that out. So when those offensive linemen do the job, you've got to point it out. That block wasn't anything to write home about, but he got in Reggie Williams' face just enough to give Lionel Little Train the daylight he needed.
Bob Thomas puts it through. 17 ticks remaining on the scoreboard here in the third period of play. The Bengals and the Chargers draw even again, deadlock at 34 each. What a ball game this has been. We told you at the outset it would be an aerial display. We thought we would see a run-and-gun offense from both of these ball clubs, and we have seen it. Next Sunday, 12:30 p.m. Eastern Time, NFL 85 gets things underway. Bob Costas, Ahmad Rashad, Pete Axthelm. And then a lot of regional action for you. The Raiders of New England. Seattle takes on the Kansas City Chiefs. That'll be one of the great games of 1985. And then Indianapolis at New York. Cleveland travels to Jack Murphy Stadium to meet the Chargers. Miami is at Mile High to tackle the Denver Broncos. Who do you like in that last one there, Bob?
It's going to be tough for the Dolphins to win at Denver. That altitude sometimes has an effect, particularly on the Dolphins. They're used to the warm, humid, heavy air in Miami. It's not that easy to play in Denver.
Thomas lets it sail. That is Jennings at the 6-yard line. And he moves it across the 24, bounced out of bounds at the 25. You can't say enough about number 7 in the orange and black. A man, Norman Esiason, nicknamed Boomer, many, many years back. What a job he has done.
Interesting how he was acclaimed Boomer. I guess apparently he was a boomer going back to the days in the womb. He was kicking so vehemently that Mom and Dad came up with the title Boomer. And he's doing just that today.
Wonder if that sort of a nickname would have stayed. Esiason, 22 of 34, 263 yards and 3 TDs. He's hit just as he releases the ball. Oh, is he leveled by Earl Wilson, the rookie out of Kentucky. Wilson, number 93, played his college ball about 60 miles down the road apiece.
What happened there, Phil, is this was just a quick little pass. It's going to be gone in about a second and a half to 2 seconds. The offensive line's pass protection is a little different technique. They fire, what they call fire protection. They just fire out aggressively at the defensive lineman's knees. And it didn't work because Earl Wilson did not go down. Instead, he went over the offensive blocker and got to the quarterback.
Brooks in motion. Esiason wants to put it up again. This time he's looking for Eddie Brown, and he's got the rook at the 45. 21 yards, and that's the end of the third period. We're tied at 34. We'll be back after these messages from your local station. Bengals tied at 34 apiece. Boomer Esiason, oh my. Set virtually all the passing records as a Terrapin from the University of Maryland. And he's making some big, big noise here at Riverfront Stadium this afternoon. Deadlock 34 all as we head for the final period of play. Chargers showing blitz. Got 6 men up on the line of scrimmage. And they're giving blitz. But the quick hitter to James Brooks is successful to the 39-yard line. A gain of 16 yards.
Great basic fundamental football here, Phil. Dave Remington, the very underrated center, doing a good job here. A little reverse hip block and almost a misdirection. That's not exactly how they teach it, but it got the job done here. That's not something you crow about to your buddies in the film room, but it was effective to get the job done. Little leg whip there.
First down from the 39-yard line. Mike Martin is now in motion for the Bengals. Esiason looking this way. Chase by Woody Lowe. Chase some more, and Esiason lets it go. Out of bounds. Wow, for 15 years, you probably didn't get to see a whole lot of plays really develop. It's got to be kind of fun for you, this overall perspective.
It is, Phil. I had no idea. These people, they throw the ball and catch it, and then they run with it. And I remember, no wonder people are so excited about football.
Look at the turnaround in the third quarter. At halftime, the Chargers had better than 3 minutes advantage in possession.
Yeah, that's a meaningful statistic, and I think that in the fourth quarter here, it's going to be interesting to see if the Bengals can control the ball.
I will tell you now, if they can control the ball, they'll win this football game. 14-11 to play from the shotgun. Boomer trying to hit Kreider at the 24-yard line and overthrew him badly. Either Boomer thought Kreider was going to be in a different spot, or he just let it sail.
That ball kind of took off on Boomer, Phil. It wobbled, and it just kind of sailed on him. He had all day to throw the ball. His offensive line now is really dominating the line of scrimmage, both in the run game and in pass protection.
That score a moment ago, Philadelphia leading Washington 16-6. Ernest Jackson, the former Charger, a 17-yard touchdown off a pass from Randall Cunningham. 3rd and 10. Esiason pumps once. Collinsworth is wide open. And he cannot come down with the football. Esiason hung it up, and that gave Gilbert all the time he needed. One of the Charger defenders slipped and fell down at the 20-yard line. Collinsworth is not getting up.
Seems to be holding his left arm, Phil. Let's take a look at it here. The ball, he was open for a period there, but Boomer had to throw the ball because there was a blitz on, lofted the ball a little bit too much, gave Gilbert time to see him coming in 22. Chris goes really high, reaching the ball at the pinnacle of his leap, comes down. Oh, there it is. Came down very hard on the arm and shoulder, and he's not up yet.
So an injury timeout with 13:57 to play in the final period. The Bengals with a touchdown in the first period. They got another in the second quarter, added 3 in the third quarter. San Diego, a field goal in the first period, 17 points in quarter number 2, a couple of touchdowns in the third. You add all that up and you come up with the Chargers 34, the Bengals 34, and Chris Collinsworth, if he cannot continue, Bob Kuchenberg, he will be sorely missed here in the final period.
He certainly will. He's had an outstanding day, even for a player of his caliber. You hear the fans applauding the fact that he's up, but he doesn't look like he's going to be coming back at this point. You know, Phil, you asked me earlier, how did I feel about the artificial turf? And I said it makes a slow player a little bit quicker. It makes a quick player a lot faster, but the players don't like it physically. It's hard on your body. Now, this has an asphalt base, and when Collinsworth came down, you see him really getting up high and coming down directly on the surface. He almost bounces. And if he were playing on grass here, right there, boom. You know, that's really it's like a parking lot with a little rug put over it. It's a very hard surface, and it does not give. And when the joints, the shoulder joints and the knee joints have the impact, it's very damaging, much more so than if it were grass.
McAnally angling for the sideline on 4th down and 10. And he does an outstanding job. He will pin the Chargers at their own 6-yard line. A 34-yard punt. Fouts and company are coming on. The fast break offense of the San Diego Chargers is on. Chris Collinsworth being worked over on the near sideline by the Cincinnati medical staff. Fouts up and over the top, going for James. He cannot hold on. Outstanding coverage by Robert Jackson.
Dan Fouts going for broke out of his own end zone on 1st down, 2nd down, and he's not being conservative. He doesn't bother him, Phil, that he's standing in his own end zone.
Fouts has thrown for 242 yards. The Chargers as a team have rushed for 153 yards. Total offense for San Diego, 395. Total offense for the Bengals, 367 yards. Cincinnati also thrown for an identical 242 yards. Tim Spencer, nothing doing to the 8-yard line and no more. Glenn Collins chips him up with help from Tim Crumrine.
That's the problem, Phil, with throwing so much on 1st down. While it's a very effective tool for a lot of offenses, I like to see it happen because it keeps the defense off balance. And, of course, in San Diego's point of view, they've got to throw. But if you're unsuccessful, now you've got 2nd and 10, and you gain 4 or 5 yards on your next running play, you still have 3rd and 5 or 6.
Instead, it is 3rd and 7 now. Fouts, there's a quick release. Lionel James has the ball, and he is punished at the line of scrimmage. Bobby, the enforcer, counts.
He's got him fired up, Phil. The enforcer is a real force back there. He's an inspirational leader in the Bengals secondary. He's got the Bengals fired up, and he's got the fans fired up.
Ralph Mojenko is on to kick it away for the Chargers. He has one 60-yarder today. There's Mike Martin. He led the National Football League a year ago with an average of almost 16 yards per punt return.
The Bengals are about to have excellent field position, Phil.
Bengals showing a big rush. They're dropping off now, and Mojenko whistles a beauty. Backing Martin up to the 35. He crosses the 44 out near the 45 and nothing else. Boy, for Moshenko, a 52-yard punt. Esiason is on the way. Now, any question whether number 80 is coming back in this ball game? Collinsworth is cinching it up. We'll see him some more. Esiason to give his right up the gut. That is James. But boy, look at him maneuver. He's to the 47-yard line and down. A pickup of 8, maybe 9.
What a sweet move he put on Woody Lowe. Little juke to the outside, froze the tackler Woody Lowe and cut to the inside. Nice move.
Giants leading the Cardinals by a bunch. Surprising after what St. Louis did to Cincinnati a week ago. Atlanta by 1 over the Broncos. Philadelphia, Ernest Jackson, the difference in that ball game. And here's Chris Collinsworth. He's back in the ball game.
And a big hand for him from his hometown fans.
James Brooks has come out. Stanford Jennings is the setback along with Charles Alexander. There's a little 3-step drop. Collinsworth has it. And he is tackled almost immediately by Danny Walters. A first down at the 36-yard line. And again, Collinsworth slow getting up.
Boomer says, hey, Chris, where were you? I missed you for a few plays. I'll tell you what, his right knee may have been twisted there. It looked like the tackler coming from the inside pinned his ankle, which turned his right knee. I wouldn't be surprised if Chris has a sore right knee at this point.
And he's not the only one. Danny Walters is down at the 35-yard line. Rick McDonald, the Charger trainer, is bending over and trying to ask Danny what's going on, where's it hurt. Clock stopped with 11:02 to play on this ball game. You know, Bob, after what happened to San Diego a week ago against the Seattle Seahawks, one of the things the Seattle defensive unit had to do was somehow get the confidence back that they could play.
And that is the very challenge that San Diego is facing right now. The odds are against them, to be truthful. They're on the road. They're playing in front of a hostile crowd in Cincinnati. The elements are a factor. It's very warm down there. It was 120 degrees, the turf temperature before the game. It's probably a little warmer here than they're used to playing for the last month in San Diego or so. They're in front of the hostile crowd. And as a defensive team spends more and more time on the field, they tend to get worn down. So right now, taking a look at Paul Brown there, he's got to like what he sees here, the development of his young ball club. But the Charger defense, it's a real gut check for them at this point.
The baseball scores. Pittsburgh now beginning to lay it on the Mets 5-1. St. Louis and Montreal deadlocked in the bottom of the fourth at St. Louis 2 apiece. Here in Cincinnati at Riverfront Stadium, the situation is this. 11:02 to play on the ball game. The Bengals and the Chargers tied at 34. Esiason to give us to Stanford Jennings. Tries to take it outside. Can't find anything. But does, in fact, find Mike Green and Billy Ray Smith.
Good, tough football play there. You have to consider that a win for the offense. They got 4 yards, I believe, on that play. And as an offensive lineman or an offensive player for that matter, anytime you can get 4 or more yards on first down, you consider yourself a win, because 2nd and 6 or less is a good pass or run situation.
2nd down and just over 6. Looking at Collinsworth. Now looks him off. The pass is to Dan Ross. Was the pass complete? I believe it was. And the Chargers will be awarded the football. Dan Ross coughs up the ball.
A big error here, Phil. This could come back to haunt the Bengals. Good little hook pattern in the middle there. Definitely has possession, no question about that. The ball's out now. A good call and a big break for the San Diego Chargers.
Now the Bengals, turnover after turnover. And Boomer Esiason, you can only control so much of what that offensive team does.
Yeah, you really can't do much more than that. He put the ball in there where he had to. Boomer's been very effective today. He's shown me a lot of courage and a lot of savvy for his tender young age.
For the Bengals, 2 fumbles and 2 picked off passes. 4 turnovers on the day. That is Spencer. He runs for 1, maybe 2 before Jeff Shue shuts it down. Atlanta Falling behind Denver now in Fulton County Stadium, 34-28.
Phil, the crowd is surprisingly quiet here for a 34-34 ball game with a little over 9 minutes remaining.
James is in motion. Bounce retreats. That quick delivery. That's James with the catch. And oh, if he gets away from Robert Jackson, he has got a bunch of turf to run on.
That's true, Phil. A good shoestring tackle made by Robert Jackson there. Otherwise, if he doesn't make that play, he's got a lot of real estate. The Bengals had a blitz on. You saw number 50 there, Glenn Cameron, coming around, but being picked up by the Charger line. A good ankle tackle. One hand on one foot and just enough to get the speedster down. Otherwise, I believe he was off to the races.
Joyner checking out of the ball game. Anthony Steele is leaving, as is Wes Chandler. Third down and less than one. The double tight end formation. Spencer and James. It'll be Lionel James. Turns it upfield at the 35. He's got the first down out near the 39-yard line. Clock continues to run. We are at 8 minutes and 44 seconds to play in the game. Chargers 34, Bengals 34.
It doesn't get much closer than this.
Right now, the difference in this ball game. The missed extra point after Cincinnati's first touchdown of the day.
Yes, because of that missed extra point, we may have an extra inning ball game on our hands here.
That's Anthony Steele. I said it was the missed extra point on the first touchdown. It was the second Bengal touchdown of the day.
Phil, the Bengals are blitzing on nearly every play. Glenn Cameron, the defensive linebacker here, number 50 on the right-hand side of your screen there, has a little blitz on, looping to the left, but he overruns the ball carrier. Going to his left, whoops, time to come back. Does get a hand on the ball carrier, but a lot of times you'll take yourself out of the ball play, out of the play.
Second down and 7 now from the 42. Chandler back in. Jesse Bendras is in. Joyner's there. The give it to Spencer. And oh my! Eddie Edwards leads the charge through the left side. And Spencer finds nothing.
What made this defensive play was the penetration, not only of Edwards, but his 2 or 3 other black jersey cohorts. You see him getting up, stacking up the blocking, and also making the play. A lot of times, a guy that gets a penetration like that will remove the blockers and strip the ball carrier of the blockers, and somebody else will make the play. But in that case, Eddie Edwards not only stacked up the blockers, but made the play.
Now this crowd is beginning to come to life a little bit. You wondered how long it might take. Third and 11, Fouts. Good time, now throws. That's Joyner. He has the first down at the 50-yard line and coughs up the football.
Simple little straight pattern here. The Bengals employing a zone. Fouts sees a zone, a seam, makes the catch, and Joyner just simply coughs at the ball. That's not like Charlie Joyner. He's done that 2 or 3 times today, and it couldn't have come at a worse time, Phil.
The Bengals, as I told you a moment ago, 5 turnovers on the day. San Diego, 2 interceptions, and now the fumble by Joyner. And it seems like a man named Griffin is always a part of this Bengal ball club.
He's made a couple of big plays today, but credit Robert Jackson, number 37, with the initial hit. He's the one that forced the fumble.
You recall Archie Griffin was here, then his brother Ray Griffin, and now James Griffin is the name in that backfield. And that is James Brooks, motoring straight ahead inside the 18, near the 17. Woody Lowe on the tackle.
Phil, this is the ultimate gut check for the San Diego Charger defense right now. They've been on the field a lot in the second half, a lot in the third quarter, quite a bit here in the fourth quarter. It's hot out there. They're not used to this heat. They're on the road. They've been put in a deep hole by their offense, and they need to rise to the occasion.
Well, a week ago, Seattle scored 28 points in the third period against the San Diego defense. Today, the Bengals scored 21 in the third period. And they won more here in the fourth. That's Kennebrew. And the chant here at Riverfront is Brew to the 10-yard line.
185-pound fullback going straight ahead behind his big behemoth lineman. An excellent block that time by the left guard, number 74, Brian Blados. Swung around as the left tackle, Anthony Munoz, turned up in the hole and took on Billy Ray Smith and just cleaned it out, enabling Larry Kinnebrew to get some good, tough yardage.
First down at the 10-yard line of San Diego. There's that quick hitter. It is James Brooks again, this time trying to follow Mike Wilson and Max Montoya to the right side.
Yeah, trying the right side that time, Phil, not with as much success as they found behind Anthony Munoz and Brian Baby Huey Blados.
Clock running, 5 minutes, 11 seconds to play on the ball game. Cincinnati following the fumble by Charlie Joyner after a first down at the midfield stripe. In a position to take a lead.
You know, Phil, when Tony Munoz came in the league 6 years ago, he used to be considered big at 280, 285. He's playing next to a 305 or 310-pound guard right now.
Second down. That's Kinnebrew. The right side is wide open.
Pitch to the big man. And a little high stepping here in the end zone. Grabbed by Mike Green, but that's not going to stop 275 pounds. Neither is that low tackle jumping over, backing into the end zone. What you don't know about Larry Kinnebrew is that he was the Georgia State 100-yard dash sprint champion. And that's amazing for a large man.
Kreider to hold. High snap, but great. Connects. Clock stop. 4:39 to play, and we are staged for a sensational. Don Coryell in his 8th year as head coach of the Chargers, watching a very balanced attack from both of these teams on the field today. That is Anthony Steele. Moving inside across the 30-yard line out near the 32. Right now, the Bengals lead it by 7.
Phil, as this game goes on, this kick is looming larger and larger. You see the wobbly inside and low snap. The snap was not in the strike zone. It caused Kreider, the holder, to be a little late getting it down, which caused the kick to bounce off the upright. As this game draws down to nearly 4 minutes, it's looking more and more important.
Well, at this particular point in time, keep in mind, however, the Bengals have a 7-point lead, but should the Chargers march the length of the field and put a touchdown on the board, they'd be deadlocked again. Fouts unloads. That's the tight end, Pete Holohan. He is grabbed at the ankle at the 40-yard line and stopped there by Ray Horton. Others finals, Philadelphia on the touchdown by Ernest Jackson beats the Redskins 19-6.
Wow.
Surprise, surprise. We pause now for station identification. This is the NBC television network. 3 minutes, 58 seconds to play. That's the score. Oh, it has been an outstanding game. Fouts looking at Spencer. Now wants to go downfield. Going for James. He's got Lionel James. Touchdown, San Diego. A 60-yard strike from Dan Fouts to the little train. And oh, was it a beautifully executed pass, Bob Kuchenberg.
What a play! Little Train James is a phenomenal player. Phil, you're from San Diego. Why didn't you tell me about this man?
I'll tell you, he can get it done. The Chargers have had a way with the little guys. James Brooks a couple of years ago was all everything in San Diego.
Here you see the perfectly thrown. And at this point, they're not going to catch him. That's no speedster. That's Robert Jackson chasing him here. But you can't catch the little train when he's got a step on you. What a play. Dan Fouts just laying the ball in there perfectly. And what a Pier 6 Donnybrook brawl this is turning out today.
Thomas to try and knock the game. It's down, and Bob Thomas sends it through. 3:45 to play on this ball game, and now the question becomes, did the Chargers score too quickly? They leave Esiason 3 minutes and 45 seconds to play, and the Bengals offense will come back on. Well, next Sunday, join NBC Sports as we continue our wild and woolly coverage of the 1985 NFL football season with an NBC doubleheader. Invite you to start your NFL experience at 12:30 Eastern with NFL 85, Bob Costas, Ahmad Rashad, and Pete Axtone. Our first game, some of you will see the Raiders take on the Patriots. The second half of the doubleheader, most of you will see Dan Marino and the Dolphins battle the Broncos at Mile High, plus other regional action. We invite you to check your local listings for the games and times in your area. Your team plays right here, so kick off with NBC Sports. And don't forget, next Saturday, all along NBC's network, we invite you to join us for our continued coverage of the 1985 baseball season. The Mets and the Pirates, or the Cardinals and the Expos. The League Championship Series, American and National, right here on NBC. And oh, what a finish we have here. We talked about it at the top of our telecast. The ability of these two quick strike offenses, and we have seen both of them perform to their capabilities today.
We sure have, Phil, and it's beginning to look like it's going to be a question of who has the ball last.
Mike Martin at the 7-yard line. Out across the 20 near the 22. Bob, your Bengals back in 1982, the date January 2nd to be exact, got involved with one of these run-and-shoot offensive games with the Chargers in the AFC playoffs. I'm sure you remember that game very well.
Yes, indeed. It was a very memorable ball game, and like you say, it's a run-and-gun type of ball game, and this game is much along those lines. The tradition of Bengal and Charger games down throughout the years has been just that, an offensive shootout.
Were you as drained as everyone else seemed to be that late that afternoon in Miami?
More than we seemed to be.
Esiason, the play action. Boomer releases to the flats. Kennebrew has a shot at it, and it was just overthrown. The Chargers 41, the Bengals 41. Both teams with their 3 timeouts remaining. Well, you asked the question early on in the telecast, Bob. Are there any defenses? Will they show up today? Now, by the looks of that score,
they may be saving themselves for overtime, Phil.
Now, San Diego gave up 49 points a week ago. The Bengals 41 points. Esiason right over the top. That's Eddie Brown, and a reception at the 41. And the rookie out of Miami is leveled instantaneously by another first-year man, Wayne Davis. A pickup of 20 yards for Cincinnati. The clock running. 3:10 to play.
As we were saying earlier, Phil, the Bengals are very high on Eddie Brown. Here you see him going very high to catch the ball. This kid has unlimited potential. Mike Brown, one of the Bengal owners, of course, made the comparison, comparing Eddie Brown to Paul Warfield. And that is some kind of compliment.
First and 10 from the 41-yard line. Now inside 244, 243. The give is right up the middle. The ball is on the carpet. And have the Chargers covered it? Yes, they have. San Diego has the football with only 2 minutes and 40 seconds to play for the Bengals, Bob. Their 6th turnover of the day.
That's right, Phil, and I believe it's James Brooks, and this has got to hurt. Got to hurt, particularly against the Chargers. You've got to put that ball away. That hit wasn't that hard. He just did not put the ball away. He's running in traffic in the middle of the line. That's an unforgivable error at this point, at this juncture in the ball game.
That's the 4th fumble by the Bengals today. Coming into this ball game, the Charger defensive unit had only forced the opposition into 2 fumbles. First and 10, San Diego. There is Lionel James. And he is handled effectively by Robert Jackson, trying to sweep the left side across the 40-yard line down near the 37. Clock running 2:28, 2:27. Now the Chargers and the Bengals, Bob, both have an awful lot of experience in these tight ball games.
Yes, they do, and it'll be interesting to see who comes out on top in this battle of nerves. As we said earlier, it may be a case of whoever wins. The winner may ultimately be the team that has the ball last.
I want to go back to something you talked about a moment ago. San Diego, Cincinnati meet for the AFC Championship in January of '82. The week before, the Dolphins and the Chargers in perhaps one of the greatest playoff games of all time in the Orange Bowl. You said to me yesterday, the week preceding that championship game here in Cincinnati, you didn't give the Chargers much of a chance. The heck with the incredible weather conditions. Why?
That's correct, Phil. While the weather, minus 59 degrees chill factor, was a bit of a factor in the favor of the home team, Bengals, it still was just as cold on the Bengals as it was the Chargers. But frankly, I didn't give a hoot for the Chargers' chances up here after playing, struggling, life and death struggle, 6 long, grueling, brutal quarters down in the Orange Bowl. The Chargers really didn't have much left. Kellen Winslow left much of his heart and soul on the Orange Bowl floor that night. Just as if the Dolphins had won that game, we would have come up here and I'm sure would not have fared any better than the Chargers because, frankly, neither team had anything left.
Both teams spent emotionally.
Absolutely.
The Chargers have the football. It is 2nd and 5 now at the 38-yard line of Cincinnati. Dan, over the top. That's Severs. He has had a day this afternoon to the 30-yard line and tackled there by Reggie Williams.
All right, Phil, the Chargers are not particularly in a big hurry now. They've got the ball game, and they want to get 3 points. That's all.
AT&T, the right choice. 1984, the playoffs. The 49ers running game stalls inside the 30. Quarterback Joe Montana must make a decision. Take the running game outside or fake the run and fool defenders to give his receivers single coverage.
A little confusion can be fun, but not when you're looking at long-distance phone companies. Because all companies aren't the same, you have to watch out for the unexpected. No operator service and no service from many small towns. Different levels of transmission quality and no immediate credit for wrong numbers. Only one company comes with no surprises. AT&T. The more you hear, the better we sound.
AT&T, the right choice. Joe Montana chooses play action. Giant safety Terry Kennard commits himself to the run. With only one man to beat, Freddie Solomon scores and the 49ers win 21-10. Joe Montana made the right choice.
The Bengals using a timeout before the 2-minute warning. They have but 2 remaining. And Bob, was that a wise usage of a timeout?
It certainly was not wise, Phil. I'm not quite clear why they called timeout with only 11 seconds remaining until the clock would have stopped anyway. Assuming that the Chargers are going to score at least 3 points here, that timeout may very well come back, or lack of timeout may very well come back to haunt the Bengals, along with that missed extra point.
Dallas over Cleveland today, 20-17. Stay tuned. NFL 85 will have the scores and highlights of all the games from the National Football League, as well as updating you on what is going on around Major League Baseball today. 1st and 10, San Diego at the Bengals 30-yard line. 2 minutes to play. 2 minutes remaining. We're tied 41 all. Faust. The pass is to Holohan. He has got the ball. And he is lassoed around the ankles at the 22-yard line by Robert Jackson. New England has the Bills their 3rd in a row. New Orleans late in the 4th period leading the Buccaneers 20-6. And Indianapolis, how about that? You called that one, Cooch. Downing the Lions 14-6.
Yeah, they're an underrated ball club.
About 343 yards today and 4 touchdowns. There's Lionel James. Big hole through the left side. James maneuvers it down near the 17 and no more. A 1st down for San Diego. Reggie Williams and Robert Jackson combined to bring the train to the carpet.
How quickly this game has eluded the Bengals. Phil, just a few moments ago we were talking about the pressure really being on the young San Diego Charger defense. The Bengals turned the ball over, and now the situation is totally reversed. The pressure is all on, the onus is all on the Cincinnati Bengals defense now. And San Diego in no hurry at all. They're perfectly willing to play the clock on down to just a few seconds and then kick the little chippy and go home victorious.
There's the draw. James, not much there. He runs head on into Tim Crumrine. But more importantly, that clock continues to wind, 23-22.
Phil, I think what needs to be pointed out here today, you've seen Dan Fouts just hit a multitude of receivers. He's thrown a lot, of course, to Holohan and lots of Sievers, Chandler, Joyner, and in years past, John Jefferson and Bobby Duckworth. What this really points out is the value of the man. That's why I said earlier, I think he's as valuable as team member as there is in the NFL.
9 seconds to play. Bob Thomas is on to give the Chargers a lead. It's down. Thomas's kick is up, and it is good. The Chargers, with 4 seconds to play, Bob Thomas, the newcomer on the block, has just staked Don Coryell's bunch to a 44-41 lead.
A pressure kick, Phil. The snap is down. The hold, good. Keeps the head down. That's very important. A lot of young kickers tend to pick their heads up too soon. Very important kick in the career of Bob Thomas. Let go after his most successful year in his career. Let go by the Chicago Bears. Fortunate to catch on here at San Diego, largely because of the misfortune of Rolf Benerska. And yet he's a quality kicker. And this could be an instrumental turning point for the remainder of his career.
Now, what is so interesting about Bob Thomas is that you figure, how can the Bears let the guy get away? He had his best year as a pro in 1984, and once they let him go, nobody else picked him up. As you say, the only way he got a shot with San Diego was that the Chargers held a tryout a week and a half ago before the Seattle game when Rolf's groin got so bad he couldn't go, and Thomas won the tryout. Last week against Seattle, he has a 52-yard field goal blocked, and he misses 3-point afters.
That's right, Phil, but there are a lot of quality kickers presently out of work. Uwe von Schaman, who had a rough year last year, but is also a good kicker, is available as well.
This ought to be the last play of the ball game. That is Stanford Jennings, and look for a whole bunch of laterals, or Willie.
You better pitch it up. There it goes.
That's Charles Alexander.
Throw it again.
It is picked off by San Diego, and that's the end of the ball game. David Crudup, in his second year out of San Diego State, the last man to touch the football in this wild and woolly affair on the artificial carpet in Cincinnati. Final, Chargers 44, the Bengals 41. Do they get any wilder than this one, Bob?
I don't know. It's getting to, anytime you see two teams whose final score is in the 40s, you almost automatically assume that one of them is the San Diego Chargers, and over the years, the Chargers have certainly been involved in their share of high-scoring great games.
Now Don Coryell, in his 8th year as head coach of the San Diego Chargers, watches his ball club go to 2-1 here in 1985, while for Sam White and the Cincinnati Bengal faithfuls, here's a ball club, Bob, that drops to 0-3 here in 1985, and really it's a start much the same as 1984.
It is, Phil. The Bengals have historically been a terribly starting team. Last year, 0-5. The year before that, I believe, 0-3 or 0-2. And I don't know why it happens. I know that they have felt that it was at a crisis point. Coach Sam White had a kind of a grim reaper meeting with his club this weekend, but all to no avail. They are now once again 0-3.
Well, for the Cincinnati Bengal defensive unit, they were in Dan Fouts' face all day long, something that Sam White said they would have to do. But Dan passed 42 times today for almost 350 yards and 4 touchdowns, and Fouts was not sacked a single time today. White drops to 0-3. The Chargers go to 2-1. What a finish. San Diego 44, the Bengals 41. So long, everybody.